Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Abiodun Adelu. In this video, we'll be looking at how to know if I am ready for marriage. Traditionally, people use age, that is your biological age, and your physical achievement to measure when you are ready. So when somebody is 28, 30, especially as a lady, 32, in fact by 32 they assume you are over ready because they assume you are old already. So people use physical age. Another thing people use to judge is achievement. Okay, you already have this, you already have that, you already have this, so what are you waiting for? As good as those yardsticks are, they are not enough. There are more things that we need to look at. Let's start with the age. What's the biological age that you should get married? There is no biological age, but you should be an adult. Adult starts from age 18. So once you are 18 upward, you are biologically ready for marriage. But that does not necessarily mean that you are ready in other areas. So that's why we need to look at other areas. The second important thing in considering the time of marriage is maturity. Maturity cannot be overstressed when it comes to marriage. The first area of maturity that is important is emotional maturity. You must be matured enough to be able to handle male-female differences. You must be matured enough to be able to relate with the person you want to marry, to be able to lead a family, to be able to relate with your extended families and everyone in your sphere of contact. You need to understand that it takes maturity to lead a home. So, are you mature? You may say, how do I know if I'm mature? People around you begin to tell you. And of course, if you are mature, over time you begin to know yourself that at this point of my life, I'm mature enough to marry. Another important area of maturity is spiritual maturity. You are the priest of your home as a male, and as a female too, you are also a priest in your home. And if you are going to lead a godly family, you need to be spiritually matured. Basically, spiritual maturity is about conformity to the image of Christ and the likeness of Christ. So once you are conformed to the image of Christ and the likeness of Christ, not just in your character, in your revelation, in your understanding of God's word, in your maturity, once you have all of those things, we can say that you are spiritually mature. And another good point about spiritual maturity is economic independence. In fact, it's one of the major things that people consider, especially in the African culture, when it comes to marriage. And I believe that's true about the Western culture too. Before you say, I'm ready for marriage, you should be economically independent. That doesn't mean that you have all the money in the world. That doesn't mean that you have built maybe you've built 2 houses and you have 5 cars. But it means that you should be able to feed yourself and be able to feed a family. Once you get to a point where you have a roof over your head and it's tastefully furnished, and then you have a very good reasonable source of income, at that point, you are economically independent. Both of you can build up from there. So we have looked at age and we have looked at maturity. Another point we need to consider in knowing that this is the right time for me to get married is conviction, spiritual conviction. You may think you are ready physically, but you're spiritually convinced that this is the right time to go into marriage. In the same vein, sometimes you feel like you're not ready for it, but in your heart you know that this is the time when God is leading in for this thing. So spiritual conviction is very, very important. How convinced are you? Are you led by the Spirit of God? Do you understand the time and season of your life? Is that the next thing in the divine calendar for your life? That's another point to take note. The last point on knowing if you are ready for marriage is consent. You need consent from your spouse to be. You need consent from your fiancé. And of course, you need parental consent too. And everybody that represents stakeholders in your life. Definitely, I know that both of you have the larger part of the work to do. But you need to understand that marriage is not something you do in isolation. You need all of these people in your life. When both of you get to the point in your life when you are both convinced that this is a point for us to get married, the male and the female have agreed to get married, then that's a strong signal that this is the right time for you to get into marriage. And then other things will begin to follow. In our subsequent videos, we look at many things you need to look at and ensure they're in place in entering into marriage. Thank you.